Look at factorizing the quadratics now in order to solve them. Okay, so anytime we're asked to factorize a solve a quadratic equation, we should always look to factorize. You know it's not factorized if there are no brackets in place. Okay, when we solve a quadratic equation, we have to make sure that our right hand side is equal to 0. So looking at example 2a, we have x squared plus 11x is equal to 0. So just factorize that like normal. So when we factorize, remember we always look for a common factor first, and then it's either going to be a difference of two squares, or a trinomial, or it'll just finish there. It won't be anything else. So we always look for a common factor first. So let's go ahead and take out a common factor here of x. So that will be x bracket x plus 11 is equal to 0. So that will just give me that x is equal to 0 and x is equal to negative 11. Okay, that's it. The next one, we have 3x minus 6x squared equals 0. So again, let's look for common factor. Common factor comes out here of 3x first of all. So that will be 3x bracket, and that would just give me 1 minus 2x equals 0. So that means that either 3x is equal to 0 or 1 minus 2x is equal to 0. So x has to be 0 and minus 2x is equal to minus 1. So x has to be a half. And that's the solutions. Okay. The next one, we have x squared minus 9 equals 0. So there's no common factor here, but if you recognise it's a difference of two squares. So the first term is an x squared, the second term is a 9, and it's separated by a minus. So that's all we need for difference of two squares to work out. We just need a square term, and then separated by a minus. So the first one we have here is going to be x minus 3. Second one is going to be x plus 3. That's equal to 0. So it means that x minus 3 is equal to 0, or x plus 3 is equal to 0. So x is equal to 3, and x is equal to negative 3. Okay. The next one we have is 64 minus x squared equals 0 again. That's another difference of two squares because 64 is a squared number. X squared is a squared letter and it's separated by a minus. So difference of two squares that, and we'll get 8 minus x, 8 plus x is equal to 0. So it means that 8 minus x is equal to 0, or 8 plus x is equal to 0. So that means that minus x is equal to minus 8. So it means that x has to be 8 for the first one. And since 8 plus x equals 0, that will give me x is equal to negative 8. Okay. Next one, we have 2x squared minus 72 is equal to 0. So take out a common factor of 2 here. So that will be 2 brackets x squared minus 36 equals 0. Then look in the bracket. We're still not done yet because we have a difference of two squares inside the bracket. So let's go ahead and factorize that. So that will be 2 brackets x minus 6 x plus 6 is equal to 0. Now this is an interesting one because when we go to do this, obviously 2 cannot equal 0. So we forget about the 2 on the far left hand side, and we just treat about what's in the brackets. So that means we're going to have x minus 6 is equal to 0, or x plus 6 is equal to 0. So x is equal to 6, x is equal to negative 6. F is the start of the trinomial ones now. So we just factorise the trinomial as we know how to do. We look at the first term and the last term and multiply the numbers. 1 times 5 gives us 5. Then we want all the factors of 5. So that will be 1 and 5, or minus 1 and minus 5. So the combination that works to give us 6, the add together to give us positive 6, is going to be 1 and 5. So that's going to be x squared plus x plus 5x plus 5 is equal to 0. Many common factorise the first two terms. Many common factorise the second two terms. So that will be x bracket x plus 1 plus 5 bracket x plus 1 equals 0, which will give us x plus 1 in one bracket, x plus 5 in another bracket equals 0. Then just go ahead and solve. So we get x is equal to negative 1 and x is equal to negative 5. Okay. The next one, we have x squared plus 3x minus 40 equals 0. So 1 times minus 40 is minus 40. So that would be 1 and minus 40 minus 1 and 40. 2 and minus 20 minus 2 and 20. 4 and minus 10 minus 4 and 10. 5 and minus 8 minus 5 and 8. If you're really good, you would know straight away that it's going to be minus 5 and 8 that works out for it. Because minus 5 plus 8 gives you your 3. So that will give me x squared minus 5x plus 8x minus 40 is equal to 0. Many common factorise the first two, many common factorise the second two. So that will be x bracket x minus 5 plus 8 bracket x minus 5 is equal to 0. So that means that x plus 8, x minus 5 is equal to 0. So x has to be minus 8 and x has to be 5. Okay. Next one, we have 3x squared plus 11x minus 4. So 3 times minus 4 is minus 12. So that would give me 1 and minus 12, minus 1 and 12. 2 and minus 6, minus 2 and 6. 3 and minus 4, minus 3 and 4. So the combination that works to give us 11 will be minus 1 and 12. So that will give us 3x squared minus x plus 12x minus 4 is equal to 0. Many common factorise, many common factorise. So it'll be x bracket 3x minus 1. And then I need to take out a common factor here of 4 to make the same. So it'll be 4 bracket 3x minus 1 equals 0. So it means we have x plus 4, 3x minus 1 equals 0. So we have x plus 4 equals 0, or 3x minus 1 equals 0. So x has to be negative 4, and x has to be positive a third. Okay. The next one, please ignore this one. I'll need to go back and redo this question. I think I've made a typo somewhere. Just ignore that. It doesn't factorise. Example J, we have 5x minus 2x squared minus 3 equals 0. So before we do this, what we want to do is actually just rearrange it. So we have the x squared term at the front. So that'll be minus 2x squared plus 5x minus 3 equals 0. So then we will take out, what I like to do is I don't like to factorise with a negative x squared term. So what I like to do is multiply the whole thing by negative 1. It's a perfectly valid method as long as what you do to one side you do to the other side. But multiplying 0 by negative 1 just gives you 0 anyway. So that will give me 2x squared minus 5x plus 3 is equal to 0. So that will factorise that. So 2 times 3 would be 6. So let's have a look and see. That's going to be 1 and 6 minus 1 and minus 6. 2 and 3 minus 2 and minus 3. And the combination that works is going to be minus 2 and minus 3. So that will be 2x squared minus 2x minus 3x plus 3 is equal to 0. So many common factorise, many common factorise. So that will give me 2x bracket x minus 1. And then I still need a minus 1 here, so I'll take out a common factor of minus 3 this time. X minus 1 equals 0. So that means that we have 2x minus 3, x minus 1 is equal to 0, which will give me x is equal to 3 halves, or x is equal to 1. Okay? The next example, what you'll see from these ones is we can't factorise yet because my right hand side is not equal to 0. So what I have to do here is take the 14 across and bring it over to the left hand side. So we get x squared plus 5x, take away 14 is equal to 0. Now I can go ahead and factorise. So 1 times minus 14 is minus 14. So that will be, factors of that would be minus 1 and 14, 1 and minus 14, 2 and minus 7, minus 2 and 7. Now, don't worry, you don't have to go through all the factors. If you get the ones that work out, stop there and then go ahead and complete it. Okay? So the one that works is going to be minus 2 and 7. So that will be x squared minus 2x plus 7x minus 14 is equal to 0. Many common factorise, many common factorise. So that will be x bracket x minus 2. And then we have plus 7 bracket x minus 2 is equal to 0. So that will give me x plus 7 and x minus 2 equals 0. So x has to be negative 7 and x has to be 2. Okay? The last example on this list here, you might think, oh, that's already factorised. In actual fact, it's not. It's not fully factorised because the right-hand side is not equal to 0. So what I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to have to expand my brackets and then deal with the 6. So if I expand my brackets, let's use a little bit of FOIL. So that will be x squared plus 3x minus 2x minus 6 is equal to 6. Now take the 6 across. So I get x squared. 3x take away 2x is just x. If I take the 6 across, that becomes a minus 6. So it'll be minus 6 take away 6 is minus 12 is equal to 0. And only at this stage can I now factorise. Okay? You can only ever factorise when the right hand side is equal to 0. So do that. So 1 times minus 12 is minus 12. So we have 1 and minus 12, minus 1 and 12. 2 and minus 6, minus 2 and 6. 3 and minus 4, minus 3 and 4. And the one that works is going to be minus 3 and 4. So that will be x squared minus 3x plus 4x minus 12 is equal to 0. Many common factorise, many common factorise. So that will be x bracket x minus 3 plus 4 bracket x minus 3 is equal to 0. So it means we have x minus 3, x plus 4 is equal to 0. So x has to be 3 and x has to be negative 4. Okay? And that's us solving quadratic equations by factorising.